So this topic is about the acid rain. There is some environmental causes and impact. So acid rain can be defined as a acid rain form when certain gases mix with the moisture, making rain more acidic. It can harm the forest, water, building, and health. Knowing why it happened help us protect the environment and find smarter, greener solutions. So there is some sources of acid rain such as the sources of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide. Basically the sulfur dioxide and the nitrogen oxide come from natural sources like volcanic activities and plants, but mainly from human activities. When these gases mixed with the water in the air, they create acid rain, which can cause a lot of the environmental problems. So there is some industrial and vehicular emissions like the acid rains form when certain gases mix with the moisture, making rain more acidic. It can harm the forest, water, building, and health. Knowing why it happens help us to protect the environment and find smarter, greener solution. So there is some natural causes and human impact which affect the natural sources, such as the natural events like the volcanic activities releases some sulfur dioxide, but human induced emissions from fossil fuel combustions dominate the problems. So the combined effect result in heightened acids can frequently intensify damage to ecosystem and urban infrastructure worldwide. So, what are the effects of the acid rain? Basically, the environmental impact of the forest and the water bodies, such as the acid rains, lower the soil pH, depleting the essential nutrients vital for the plant health. Aquatic ecosystem also suffer in acidify water, harm fishes and other aquatic life, leading to reduce the biodiversity in the ecosystem. So, insteadly, forest experience weakened growth and increase the susceptibility to the pest. There is also the damage to the building and infrastructure, such as the acid rains accelerate the decay of the constructions materials like the limestones and the marble. It also causing the structural weakening and loss of the culture heritage. Urban areas faces increased maintenance cost and deteriorations of the movements, affecting the both economic and aesthetics values. There is some health consequences for the living organism. For example, acid rains indirectly affect the health by contaminating the water and the soil with harmful metals like the aluminiums. These toxins enter the food chain and drinking water supplies, posing risk to the humans and worldwide. Additionally, pollutants contributing to acid rains can accelerate respiratory issues such as the asthma and bronchitis, impacting the vulnerable population. So there is some mitigation strategies to avoid these stresses. So there will be the emission control technologies such as the scrubbers, catalytic converters, and a flue gas diffusionization effectively reduce the sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide emissions. These innovations help industrial and vehicles minimize their pollutant outputs, directly mitigating the formation of the acid rains and protecting the environmental and public health. So some policy and regulatory framework will also play important role to regulate this problem, such as the strict regulation and international agreements set limits on emissions to combat acid rains. Policies like the emissions trading and emissions caps promote the industrial compliances and innovations. Regulatory oversights ensure the accountability drive reducedness in the pollutions at national and global level. Public awareness and education, for example, educating the communities about the causes and impact of the acid rain, foster the responsible behaviors and public support for the environmental policies. Awareness campaigns encourage the energy conversions, cleaning the transport choices, and support for sustainable industrial practices amplify the mitigations efforts. So, monitoring and future challenges. For example, measurements techniques such as monitoring acid rains involve collecting the precipitation samples to analyze the pH levels and chemical composition. Advanced sensors and the satellite technologies enable real time tracking and comprehensive data collection, essential for assessing the trends and guiding the policy decision. So there is some impact of climate change on the acid rain. For example, climate change may influence the acid rain patterns by altering the rainfall distributions and atmospheric chemistry. Changing the atmosphere and air circulation can affect the pollutant transport and depositions, presenting the new challenges for the production and mitigation strategies. So there will be some global cooperation and sustainable development, such as addressing the acid rains, require the international collaboration to share the technology, data, and resource. Susceptible development goals emphasize the reducing emission while promoting economic growth and environmental protection, ensuring a balanced and collective response to the global issue. So, as a concluding mark, acid rains remain a critical environmental concern driven by the human induced emissions. So, effective medications depend on the advanced technology, strong policies, public engagement, and international cooperation. Continuous monitoring and adopted strategies are vital to safeguard the ecosystem, infrastructure, and human health that will be fostering a sustainable future. Thank you so much.